Welcome to Flat Earth Philosophy. Today's video is going to be about a few things, but in particular it's about the motions of the sun. A lot of flat earthers aren't getting it right. They're not understanding what I'm saying. They all think what I say is just my imagination or my opinion. They don't realise I've read a dozen books, ancient books or ancient stories regarding the cultures and, philosophical books, esoteric stuff. It's all in there. You can't debunk it because it all makes sense. It all equates and makes sense. A lot of it might be metaphysics, where you don't see it, you can't calculate it, but it all equates, it all makes sense. Like they're the missing puzzles that create the whole picture. The spinning ball, you can't just stop and think about it. Living on a spinning ball, upside down. This guy's upside down, this guy's not. They don't know the difference. They can travel the world, not know the difference. That is complete dumb. As dumb as the human race can be is by thinking they're living on a spinning ball. We do not. We live on a flat plane of inertia. So anyway, there's plenty of things to go over, but I'll try and stick to just what I had in my mind and what I've made notes on. And it's basically regarding the sun's movements. You've got the tropical year, solar tropical year, then you have a sidereal year. The solar tropical year is when the sun goes from vernal equinox all the way around to the next vernal equinox. Okay, so that's one solar year. And then you have the sidereal year where the sun will go around and realign with the stars. What the flat earthers aren't realising is the sun is always the quickest. It laps the stars over 1 year. But by the time it catches up to the stars, it passes the finishing line a little bit. Okay? This is why we have two solar systems. There's actually a third, which is the animalistic year. But I think that's garbage, because that's just it's not real. It's just an equation using Kepler's third law of motion, which is total BS, but because the planets don't do ellipses. And there's about 3 minutes difference in it. So I'd ignore 3 minutes 17 seconds more than the sidereal year. So I'd ignore that one. I think that's BS. Plus, they say it works on the perihelion when the sun's closest to the Earth. But that's garbage, because that would mean, because in our flat Earth system, the sun, there's the tropical gap. It spirals into the centre, into the Tropic of Cancer where we see it, and then spirals back out to the Capricorn for the southern hemisphere solstice. So the closest to Earth would always be the same up here, but in reality around the flat Earth the sun will spiral up and in every year, up and in, and then down and out the southern solstice. And they're trying to say perihelion, which is going to be the northern solstice, isn't it? If you want to look at it that way, but it's not. It's totally irrelevant, because the sun is fixed in one spot at all times. It just turns in that one circle. So they're trying to say that the sun, this animalistic year, is the sun closest to the Earth. So you say the northern solstice, all the way around the year till it back up there again. But that in my head at the moment would be equal to the equinox to equinox, because the sun's basically going down and out, southern solstice, equinox, up and in, northern solstice. So from there, down there and back up there would be one cycle. So what would be the difference between here, down there, up there and back there? It's still the same cycle. I think they've only just used this bullshit mathematical stuff to come up with that figure, so I'll just ignore it. So understanding the sun. The sun, I'm going to talk about metaphysics here. This is the creation. Back at creation we do not see. Right inside here. Inside the vortex, beyond the event horizon, they say. Because we all exist outside here in the toroidal field, not in the core of the apple. Where the stem comes out of the apple, that recess there, that's where all this magic is happening. We cannot get in there. So what you have to do is imagine the ecliptic plane as a racetrack, a circular racetrack. It's not elliptical. Why science thinks it's elliptical is because they're focusing on the sun. The sun being offset creates an elliptical illusion of the planets. But nothing goes around the sun. So anyway, we'll start with this racetrack, circular racetrack, and on the inside track is the sun. Inside the core of the track is the vortex, the hollow core of the black hole. It's the neutron. The sun is the proton. Electrons go around it. That's called the father. The black hole center is the father. The sun is next to it. Could say on his right hand side, right side of God, whatever. As it comes around, if you're looking at it, it's coming around from the right, from the east there. And you look up the word father. Father, work on the sounds. Father. This is in the Quran. What does father mean? An opening. This is the opening. That's an opening. Ooh. Vortex, trumpet, opening, sound. The sound comes out. But when it hits the right frequency, bang, the sun is created. So the sun's just up here, it's been created. And the sun holds all the frequencies. So you have to go through the sun to get to the Father, because the sun holds all the frequencies. The sounds are coming out of the black hole. The sun contains them all in balance. That's why it's enlightened. That's why it's been illuminated. That's why we have a sun. It's balance. Bang, the right resonant frequency, you could say. This is the earth story. There's also a manly story when he gets his balance between his heart and his brain and enlightens the pineal gland. He's the son of man. That's how it works. Anyway, the sun is on the inside track. It's got the most energy because that's where all the energy is around the center. So all the planets, as you go out, all have their own tracks. This is described in Plato, the Republic, I think. Maybe not, somewhere in there though. About how the planets don't cross each other's lines. They stay fixed in their zones because that's based on pressure gradients. So we imagine the plane as a level horizontal plane, but you've also got to realise back, this is all metaphysics back in creation, right? You've got to realise back out in our realm, you've got to think of it as vertical. You know, we get the magnetic field and the electrical currents, right angles, perpendicular, whatever, to each other. Life is like that, from creation to reality, to our physical realm. We perceive as physical. So you've got to imagine it as vertical. The pressure gradients as you go up. And those pressure gradients are these planets staggered up in that pressure gradients. It's all to do with frequencies as well. Because it all comes from frequency. The Father, the Son, it's all based on frequency. Sound in the beginning was word. Word. We have our mouth. That's our hole. Creation comes out of the hole. Sound. Man is this hole with sound. So, the sun is on the inside track, and then you have the planets on the outer tracks. Who's going to have the most energy? The inside track. He's going to win the race. That horse on the inside track is going to win the race every time if they stay on their own tracks. Nothing can pass the sun. Nothing goes past the sun. The sun spins around, lapping everything. So all the background stars out here in the vortex, out here, are all getting lapped at the end of the year. Just like the sun laps the moon every month, the sun laps the stars every year. But when the sun finally catches up to these stars, that the same star, it was at last year, by the time it catches it again, it crosses the finishing line. It just crosses the finishing line a little bit. This is the difference between a sidereal year and a tropical year. Tropical year is the vernal equinox to vernal equinox. But by the time it catches the stars, it's past go a bit. You know what I mean? By 20 seconds and by 20 minutes and 24 seconds. Those are the two motions of the sun, time frames, cycles. Then there's this silly, I think we've been over this, haven't we? I think we have. I've had to do this video again because flipping STD card was chocker. I hate doing things again, so I don't know if I'm repeating myself. So I would ignore this, Kepler's BS, because don't do ellipses. It's all circular, because the sun is offset. So, you know, maybe his equations work. Well, obviously they do. They work, use them, using that sun, but it's not ellipse. They're not ellipses. It only works because they've used a sun that's offset, and it sort of works with their system. So this is what, you know, Dave Weiss, Todd, you guys, you've got to realise the stars are not quicker than the sun. The sun catches up to everything. Okay? So that's basically what the video is about. So, what do we got here? Let's run over a few things, shall we? Sidereal. The sun races ahead of the stars and laps them over 1 year. The sun eventually catches up again just after a tropical year cycle-wise. Solar tropical year. Vernal equinox to vernal equinox. You can put it there if you want. But anyway, catching the stars, the realignment of the stars, that little bit more. So it's creeping. There's always this bit of creep. And this is what is the cycles of time. You've got the creep of the sun on the stars. You've got the creep within the Milky Way. So, you know, the sun, the Milky Way turns. Because the sun's on the inside of the Milky Way. And the sun races ahead a little bit, creeps ahead every year in the Milky Way. But apparently that takes 225 million years for the sun to creep around the inside of the Milky Way. That's where the sun is. That's Sagittarius A. Look up in that direction at night with a good camera. All that bright light. That's the back of the sun. And dead centre of that core is the black hole, the Father. It's what religion's a story. It's just describing the actual metaphysics, the esoteric. It's just not understood by the common man. So you don't take religions literally. You've got to open your mind. That's what it's designed for, to open your mind. Because opening your mind, you get this alignment between your heart and brain when you discover something. And if this moment occurs in your planetary alignment, and the moon's in your sign, bingo, you are enlightened. This is the meaning to life. That's your Son of Man being enlightened. See, the sun was enlightened when it reached balance, when the frequencies came up. You know, when you go back to creation, the flat earth model, the centre of the Arctic, you've got all this wind, right? We've got all this wind going around. Hot and cold. The tropics warm, cold up the north, cold down at the south. It's driving the wind. It's that wind, the vortex, the centre earth, the centre north. It's that wind that created the perfect resonant frequency. And boom, it created the sun. You know about resonant frequencies. You know what happened to that? Was it the the big bridge in that storm, and it made the whole bridge collapse, all due to a resonant frequency. This is what it's all about. Because life comes from basically solar luminescence. The whole atmosphere is full of moisture. If you look up moisture in the atmosphere, it's totally full of it. But some science say there's only a minute amount of moisture in the atmosphere, which is total bullshit, because in my earlier videos I've described the whole Noah's flood story in creation. All the water, Earth came out of the water. If the sun's not created, all the moisture just falls to the ground and floods the earth. It's flooded. Thanks to the sun, the more condensation, moisture, the rising of the moisture comes up into the atmosphere and exposes the land. That's the whole Genesis story, Noah's flood story. But that's the earthly story. There's also the flood story of man, when he goes through his awakening. Like the earth is a one-off story, and so is man's spiritual enlightenment is a one-off story. When his flood comes away from his pineal gland, floods through his system, has to come back up the backbone of that. This is, do with magnetics and electrical in the human body, but that fluid being released from around the pineal gland leaves the pineal gland high and dry. He's now open to the frequencies of the universe. He's the very wise man. He knows the whole story. So, another thing is, we've got this science wannabe, thinks he knows everything, trying to make out I don't understand celestial navigation. And he wants me to do it for him. I don't know how he wants me to do it for him on camera, and I'm not going to waste my time. He's going to give me $1,000, whoop-de-doo-dah. And apparently this full tune you might have heard of is willing to give you $10,000. Because they're trying to tell you can't do celestial navigation on a flat earth. There's your flat earth. Every man has this arc of horizon. It's described in ancient Egyptian texts. Arc of horizon is what it's called. This is why I use this term. Why has it never been used before? I understand it. And he is zenith, centre of his 180 degree view of his universe. Obviously not the entire universe, but where he is on the earth. All the stars and everything are on this arc. And it's all about getting the angles. Using a star, getting a reading from him with a sextant, up to there gives him this angle. Then he has to find this angle. I've done it plenty of times before, I don't want to repeat myself. But it's easily done. And what you need to, I've done a lot of videos on Orion's belt. And told the story about how Orion's belt is between the two rotations, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere rotations. It's in this ecliptic plane, we call the ecliptic plane basically. There's a gap between the two rotations. These are the two rotations, the tracks the stars take over the night. So you can imagine the bigger field's the southern field, and the centre northern field is a smaller field. There's a smaller field in the north, a bigger field out in the south. And in this gap between the two rotations, above, the celestial tropical zone, Orion belt passes through there, so it's not affected by these two circular motions of stars. This is why they use Orion's belt in celestial navigation as a fixed system, basically, because it travels direct east to west. And what's in the Bible? It states the three wise men came from the east and leave via another route. It's a matter of thinking, understanding. Like I say, you get it right up here, it hits here, you get an alignment, bingo, you win the reward. Free pass, go. You're enlightened. So they use that as a reference point in celestial navigation. And they also use Polaris because it's not spinning around the flipping sky all night long. It's centralized. There's a small rotation, but basically that's north. And then you aim for the crux in that, and the 2 pointers in the southern hemisphere. Sigma Octanta is pretty hard to find, but it's out there. It's more widely dispersed in a weaker field, just like Saturn and the other planets further out there, weaker. in the weaker field. But so that's why you can use this. They're fixed, or you can use the sun, but that's daytime. You can't use the moon because it's spiraling out and all that. So, but you go deeper into it, there's a lot of stars you can use because it's all now in sailors' almanacs and all that sort of thing. We can get a GP of a star and then it's got its exact GP time at a certain time of the day and all that, and you just calculate the distance back from there up to where you are, and then you times it by the nautical miles to give you a distance from there to that GP point. These guys just go on and on and on. This guy, what's this called? Michael J. Full of it. So I've just started deleting all his garbage. I'm sick of talking to him now. He's just full of it. Doesn't understand anything. They only understand the indoctrinated system. They don't understand any of this. Understanding the magnetic field, how the cycle of the magnetic field is like this. A bigger field itself, smaller, is this ratio. This is the golden ratio. That's a magnetic cycle. Phi. They don't understand any of that. They've never been taught it. There's a discrepancy here in size. If they were equal, they would find equilibrium and all life would cease to exist. They don't understand any of that. The two 15-degree motions. This guy, Michael J. I said, try to explain the two 15-degree motions in the southern hemisphere. He reckons he's a Kiwi. One of those thick Kiwis, obviously. You take a camera, you fix it on a tripod, you're getting the star rotations around Sigma Octantis. It does not wander, it stays there, fixed. You've got a circle. That's the one they bluff all the flat earthers with. Oh, that's because you live on a spinning ball, because the Earth's going that way, so the stars will be going this way. Okay, that's alright. Move on. But you get another camera on an equatorial mount or a star tracker, pick one of these stars here, and it starts wafting west. So you've got the stars going like this, and another one going like this. That's fixed. Then you've got another one going like this. And this guy, I shouldn't say not Fox, Michael J. says, oh, it's all part of the same system. Yeah, it is part of the same system because these stars are basically going like this. Well, yeah, they sort of go like this. Do one full rotation all the way around the south. No matter where you are, there's your rotation and your arc of horizon in your view from north to south. You'll get this rotation spinning here, but they're actually turning. If you track them, it goes all the way around the Earth to come all the way back to its alignment again the next night there. That's how it works. They're all drifting this way. But I'm just exposing their stupidity. When you have the two motions at once, it doesn't work with a spinning ball, does it? How can you have this fixed going like this and then something going like this? They're just as thick as pigs, you know what. And then you've got Orion's belt. When he tried to describe the Orion's belt, he described it the same way the flat earth system works. Orion's belt's moving around here every day of the year. 365 days of the year. So is the sun in here, reflecting out. But the sun is quicker, so it'll catch up, cover Orion's belt, pass over it, then move on, and you'll see Orion's belt again. It just works like this. But you can't do it on a spinning ball. You can't see Orion's belt for 9 months and only see it and lose it for only 3 months on a nice symmetrical sphere. If it's turning, it doesn't slow down or speed up. It doesn't work. So he's trying to tell you, Orion's belt here and the sun is over here. He's calling from here all the way around to there twilight, and from there all the way around to there's twilight. And if you had the right camera, you'd see Orion's belt at all times through the light of the sun. Over their ball. No, it's either there at midnight over your arc of horizon right there, or it's right there during the day at midday, opposite You do not see, you can't see it over here, if it's over there. Think about it. He basically described it using the flat earth model. These guys are a joke. Now, this system here, you get this, you see this pattern, you get a nice pointed pattern here. You see that in churches, this pattern here. And I just found it the other day. I'll try and show it to you, but probably won't show up. You probably can't see that. You know, a lot of the churches, get right in there. Realise they all knew this. A couple hundred years ago, everybody knew that the earth was flat. It's written everywhere. It's shown in all sorts of ways. You can't miss it. They've got a good picture of the sun and the rays coming off it behind the cloud yesterday. Not sure if you see that. Probably not. No way. Oh, it's gone. Is some USGS talking about the moisture in the atmosphere. There's plenty of moisture in the atmosphere. There's the Father. Fataha, to open. To open. You've got the image of the banner, Quran. It's the Ankh, just like the Egyptian, because they all know the cross, died on the cross, the Ankh. You know, there's that one there. This is the connection between man and earth. There's the that's Muslim again, the Quran. That's see the thing on the top. That's the colostrum, isn't it? Colostrum. The same thing on the top of the Egyptian staff represents the centre of the brain. That bone that looks like this, or like this actually, like that. Because you know that's the centre of your brain. That's the holy place. That's Solomon's temple. You name it. What else have we got here? You know, there's a picture of old Klaus. There's the Queen's sovereign orb. As if they didn't know all this. The orb's in here. Orb in here. Put that in an earlier video. There's plenty of stuff on there, but it's not in my head at the moment. But so what have we got here? You know, Plato's equal line. What have we got here? Oh, yeah. So relating this back to the spinning ball. So there is no wobble. Don't think of a ball. There's no ball. Obviously, there's no ball. There's no ball. There's no wobble. There's no wobble. So the tropical year solar. This is science. This in science is the tilt of the Earth's axis, LOL, the wobble, LOL. Sidereal year meets the same stars again. You've got to realise this is the way the Egyptians talk about the solar boat, because you've got to think of the ecliptic plane, because that's the seasonal changes is in the ecliptic plane. The sun doesn't move, the sun only goes like this. But outside the sun, you've got the ecliptic plane going like this, down and out, up and in, over the year. So it's going down and out, up and in, at the same time as it's turning. So if you can imagine, it's like this.